So it turns out the plea deal from Trump's former attorney Cohen about lying about the dates of a possible Trump Tower in Russia may in fact exonerate Trump himself of having any back channels whatsoever with the Russian government. Now remember, the initial claim that spawned the Trump-Russia collusion investigation was that Trump or people connected to him were back channeling with the Russian government itself in an effort to steal the election or colluding to steal the election and things. It turns out now, that according to Real Clear Investigations' Paul Sperry, that when you look at the evidence that Mueller submitted, the actual filings that he submitted involving this plea deal, it makes it seem as if Cohen was emailing people at the Kremlin about this deal, and that's being what's pushed on CNN and all these other outlets that say, see, this shows that Trump and his attorney had connections to people at the Kremlin government and how shady this was. But what's left out of this is, according to sources, which, again, we should all take this with a grain of salt because we can't see the information ourselves, but all of these stories that the media push are just according to sources. And according to Paul Sperry, sources he's contacted said that Cohen's contact with the Kremlin was actually emailing the general inbox for the Russian government. So in the same sense that I could email the Kremlin and that I could Google Kremlin, what's the address, the email address for the Russian government, and could send them a contact us email, or I could do that with Trump, go to Trump's page or the President of the United States page and click the Contact Us button. That was the extent of contact that Trump's attorney had with the Kremlin. In fact, beyond that, Cohen also specifically testified that Trump himself had no contact whatsoever, and apparently Mueller hasn't claimed that that claim was a lie. Cohen wasn't forced to retract that statement and say it was a lie. So that statement's been, so far it seems, held up as true. There hasn't been any proof to the contrary. So this means that the plea deal, if this is true, is actually not a bad thing for Trump whatsoever. Now, granted, what Mueller's trying to do with his media pals and the establishment, because remember, the mainstream media, 95% of them are just mouthpieces for the intelligence community and the establishment, and so their job isn't to go report the news, it's to go out there and make Trump look bad, as we see every day. So Mueller's desperately trying to get information out there that's like, oh, let's conflate and make it seem like Trump did something nefarious with Russia, when in reality there's nothing there. Look, this deal was perfectly legal. You might think you don't want the leader of your country or potential leader of your country having business deals in other countries like Russia, but there's nothing illegal about that. And again, I'm failing to see what's apparently so shady about it. This wasn't some hidden deal. If there was evidence that Trump was like, if you let me build this tower here, then I will enact policies that are beneficial to Russia, that might be a story, but there's nothing of the nature. We've seen Trump's been a mixed bag with Russia. This is just further proof that I've never understood this from the get-go. It's the same with the Trump tax returns. The Democrats are trying to make it seem like any business arrangement that Trump ever had with Russia somehow proves then that he's colluding with Russia unless he goes to all-out war with Russia. That's the party of peace. That's what they want. They want a conflict with Russia, whether it be a proxy war or sanctions that lead to some kind of escalation or just a war itself. That's why Hillary's plan was to have a no-fly zone over Syria, because they wanted this conflict with Russia. As I've said before, the most impressed I was with Trump was in his second debate with Hillary after the vice presidential debate, where he came out and was like, why are we fighting Syria? Why are we not working with Russia in Syria? Aren't the people, the freedom fighters that we're supporting in Syria against Assad and Russia, aren't they really Al-Nusra, Al-Qaeda, these other terrorist groups that we're supposedly fighting all over the world? And Trump was absolutely right. But all of the media, including Fox News on the right and all of the mainstream media on the left, went absolutely berserk in agreement that, oh no, Trump, you can't say that. That's terrible. No, we need this war. We have to do. How dare Trump say that? Until they finally reined him in. The only time in Trump's entire presidency that the media has praised him, these mainstream media, is when he's attacking Syria. That's the party of peace for you, right? And we're further seeing that they're just trying to conflate. They want conflict with Russia, so they're trying to conflate any business deal, even if it's legal and totally on the up and up, somehow proves that Trump's a Russian stooge and had collusion, but they're light on details. That doesn't matter, though. They'll still have CNN's Jeffrey Toobin out there and all these other people saying, finally, this is it. This is the smoking gun. Trump might not finish his term. Why? Because he was discussing a legal business opportunity in 2016? These same people, without batting an eye, won't say anything about the fact that Bill Clinton, while Hillary was Secretary of State, met with Putin personally in secret and then received $500,000 from a Russian state bank the next week for a speech. They have no problem with that. Oh, and it just so happened then the agency that Bill's wife was in charge of voted to allow the sale of uranium to Russia. They don't have a problem with that. That's no problem. By the way, who was in charge of the FBI at that time? Oh, yeah, Mueller. Who was in charge of the investigation into the criminals involved in Uranium One? Oh, yeah, Rosenstein. Isn't it funny how it all comes together? Their connections to Russia, their shady deals with Russia, no problem. As we see over and over. It was no problem that Hillary paid an intermediary firm to contact a foreign spy in Britain to get dirt on Trump from Russians. The very same Russians that Trump's accused of trying to get dirt. So none of that matters. So it's obviously a joke. The Mueller investigation, every day it proves it's more and more just a witch hunt. There is no Russian collusion. They haven't showed any evidence. Again, if he produces evidence, that's fine. If Trump broke the law, he should be charged. I totally agree with that. But they're trying to make this big deal that, oh, Cohen pled guilty. Not that he lied or obfuscated about the potential deal that Trump was trying to have to build a tower in Russia, merely that he got the dates wrong. But there's still nothing criminal. All of these charges that Mueller's charging people with, Alan Dershowitz, a lawyer, said it best the other day. None of these crimes existed until Mueller was appointed. In other words, the original idea that Mueller was appointed for, which was finding Russian collusion and punishing people, there was no Russian collusion. So instead, what they did was set up perjury traps and punish people for small, insignificant lies. Lies, by the way, that are trounced by lies that we've seen other people like Brennan, Comey, Clapper, and many others tell in front of Congress. Yet again, they're not charged. So again, what this is saying, if these sources are true, is that the actual contact that Trump's attorney and people connected to Trump had with Russia about this deal was through their general's state inbox, that you could go to their website, and the Russian government website, and just click contact us. If they had these nefarious black channels because they were trying to steal the investigation, why wouldn't they use it then when they're trying to make money off this deal? It's clear that if these channels, and we see this all over the place, constantly that they're sending Carter Page and George Papadopoulos to have these back channels with Russians in smoky rooms, we're to believe, instead of Trump, who's the claim is has been groomed by Putin for how many years? Why isn't Trump just personally back-channeling with Putin? Instead, he's sending out people who are then getting drunk and talking to Hillary supporters in bars. It makes no sense whatsoever. How have we not seen one piece of evidence of anyone in Trump's campaign whatsoever communicating with any high-ranking Kremlin official? The only evidence we see of people contacting high-ranking Kremlin officials are Christopher Steele, the British spy, who was working on behalf of Hillary Clinton, contacting high-ranking Kremlin officials to get dirt on Trump. That's the only example we see. The only people we know for sure that anyone connected to Trump met that were Russian was Don Jr., and I believe Jared Kushner was involved with that as well, where they met at Trump Tower for 10 minutes with the Russian lawyer Veselnitskaya and another Russian, where found out that there was clear that she had nothing to say and just left the room. Oh, by the way, Veselnitskaya and that other Russian, yeah, they're also hired Fusion GPS, the very law firm that Hillary hired to get dirt on Trump. Isn't that just an amazing coincidence? So it was shady for Trump to meet that Russian lawyer, but not for Hillary to have connections to him, not for Hillary's firm, Fusion GPS, to have connections to those Russians. And also, we're led to believe that somehow, despite the fact that Fusion GPS was her legal system and the head of Fusion GPS was her lawyer, Veselnitskaya had dinner with that lawyer the day before and after the Trump Tower meeting, and that lawyer says, oh, by the way, I had no idea that she met with Don Jr. in Trump Tower. It's clear this was a setup all from the get-go, and again, we'll see if these anonymous sources prove true, but if so, yeah, there was no nefarious back channel. They literally emailed the RussianState.gov email about possibly having a legal business opportunity in Russia. And we're supposed to say, oh, this is it. This is the smoking gun that proves Trump's going down. The fact that the media runs with this shows that they're not journalists. They're not critical thinkers. They're merely propagandists who are out there trying to bring Trump down by any means necessary. All right, thanks, everyone. If you like and subscribe the video, I'll be putting more content up. Remember, I have live stream every noon on Friday, Eastern Standard Time. And, yeah, like the video, recommend, and look for more videos throughout the week. All right, have a good one.